since 1999, you've been going somewhere else.
Yeah.
And doing something else. And
Yeah.
so,
And you've got to think there's a 5-year period. Like a Sister came out in hardcover in 99, and the paperback came out in 2000. Those are 2 books. All 1 book's paperback. And then it seems like there's just this line drawn to me, and it's not just a timeline, but in what I want to do and what I'm willing to do. And coming to Just Doll, part of my State and Bay trilogy, that's my heart. That's my heart. This is what I wanted to write when I wrote that. And what I risk to do it, aside from getting rid of 2 agents here, because they're trying to say you've got this audience for contemporary. You need to stay with what you're doing. Don't rock the boat. You're not that secure. And they're talking about sales. But what they're looking at is trying to stay or get into, I don't know where I've ever been, as far as, you know, top 20%, they say, in the top 20% of Southern authors, certainly. I don't know that. I mean, I've never felt that I've succeeded as far as that, and I never want to feel that I have.
Okay.
I want to stay humble. I really do, and I am humble. And
You are. I
can
count on that.
I love people, and I like simple things. But on Just Doll, here's where it's almost like darting out in front of a car to see if it'll hit you. So what the hell? I don't have that long anyway. I think I'll just go ahead and try it, you know, and get an adrenaline rush. And so what I did with Just Doll, I had this agent, a whole career management agent, for the first time. He's supposed to be telling me every time I can blow my nose. and I got sick of her real quick, because she literally would say, I saw you in a bookstore that you did a blurb on, and I do not think you can do that anymore. I do not do this. She was very polite, very polite. She was so polite she was sickening. And she says, don't do this. And I said, hey, this was a first-time author, and certainly people did it for me. I'm going to do it for them. And so we had words about that to start off with. I mean, first week. Well, then she looks at what I have, and by then I'm always writing. So I had 2 more contemporary novels that were publishable, very, very publishable, probably better than anything I've written over here. I also had Just Doll, 3 books in Just Doll, which equals about 800 pages.
Right.
And so I've got that, and then I have another novel. I turned around the next day after I finished State and Bay trilogy. I started on Massacre at Pontiac Crossing, because I wanted to write it with all the details from that period of around the 1900s. I wanted to do it while that was fresh in my mind, so I wouldn't keep slamming screen doors that weren't there, for one thing. You know,
right.
And before that, I had tried to write Massacre, and I couldn't because I didn't have time, and I was caught up in these other things and book tours. So I did a lot of writing, plus my story collection, my new story collection. Forgot the name of it. Anyway, whatever. Who cares? So I had all these books stacked up, and my agent then would say, "Well, you're going to have to go ahead and let's do the contemporary novel." And she picked out Sudden Money, the story of a little black boy who finds a sack of stolen cash in an alley. And I had so much fun with that book, and I was tempted because I think it is one of my best. It says a lot of things that I wanted to say about life and death and in between. But I wanted Just Doll. I wanted State and Bay to be published. So I just one day had it, and I got impatient, and I emailed the publisher at Baskerville, who is where my first Dark of the Moon came out. I emailed this publisher. It was a new publisher. I thought I was getting this woman who worked on Dark of the Moon with me, who I loved. And there was a new publisher. And I asked him, was he interested? I told him about the book. He said, yes. He said, send it to me and let me look. He said, but I know the answer is yes. He knew who I was by then. He wanted me. He was just really ecstatic. And so I emailed it. I sent it. And there again, I'm working with email now. I'm working with electronics as opposed to mail that takes a long time. And cheaper. And I don't have to go to the post office either.
Right, so we don't have any more of those pictures of you mailing off manuscripts.
Oh, that's right. And making changes on the way. And so I sent it to him the next morning. He called. He had read the whole thing overnight. Well, he read the first part, just all overnight. And he said it's absolutely the best thing I've ever read, and this man is very well read. And then he read 2 and 3 the next night together, maybe a couple of nights, and he said, I just love it. I absolutely love it. He said, but I can't afford you. And I said, yes, you can. So, you know, that's how I say I committed suicide. I darted out in front of the car. I don't regret it at all. Later I may regret it. But the time that's been put into this through my editor, Jeff Putnam. Now, I worked with an editor now. I worked with a man taking 3 and 4 days to convince me this is probably going to be better if we can do it a different way. And even wording it. In one case, I even use his actual wording in the back of this book. And I've never worked with anybody quite so absolutely brilliant and interested and just in love with what I was doing. It was seen through my eyes and into my soul. I always did. I mean, I would do just about anything to work with him, and it's really, you know, it is kind of suicidal for the business because I don't know how it's going to come out as far as sales or whatever, you don't know. And you have to think about that even publishing now. But I was back to really writing and not thinking so much about the business. So it's fun.
Because you have been you took care of the business side of this stuff very, very well.
Yeah, I tried not to.
Very well.
I tried to stay out of the way. And my husband helped a lot. But I found real soon that you had to sort of take care of your own self, and particularly in New York. You get lost in a big house. And that was another thing with Just Doll. There I was, the lead title again. And working very closely with cover and all these things. But I call it business, but it wasn't so much business because it's not about money.